Mr Chair, I would like to deal with some of the questions that have been raised by speakers to this point. I don't want to cut across anybody's opportunity to ask questions, but I don't want to lose those questions either. So going back to Mr Chevelle, who raised a number of questions. Firstly, he pointed to the Social Welfare Act and asked why that is specifically mentioned. Well, I can give you very succinctly, there are new Social Welfare Act provisions that come in on the 27th of September. The Minister has suggested that some of those may need to be suspended for people in Canterbury. And in many ways that then immediately links us to the part in the bill that deals with the ministerial decisions not being able to be challenged through the courts. Essentially, if there is a provision made for people in Canterbury around IRD activities, around social welfare activities, and around a range of other things, including compliance with attendance at school and various other things, other parts of New Zealand presumably could go to a judge and ask, is that reasonable? Is that fair? And a judge may well be persuaded that actually it's not, and go through a process of setting that aside. We can't really go through that in this case. And while I can accept that in some circumstances, other circumstances, such a denial of the court's role in these things would be inappropriate, I don't think it is here, because it only would become a problem if there was a strong view that there was something sinister afoot. And in this case, there most certainly is not. The issue was also raised about by Charles Chevelle about whether or not more councillors should be on the Commission. Well, I think it's worth noting that the Commission is made up, already stated, it will be the 3 mayors plus 1 ECAN Commissioner plus 3 independents. Now, the idea of this is to get a very flat structure. One of the things that none of us who've been on the ground in Canterbury in the last 10 days can deny is that the districts did a brilliant job. They do know what they need to reconstruct themselves. They do know also that they need to corral off what is business as usual, and this answers some of Brendan Byrne's questions, I think, and what is reconstruction. And in that regard, reconstruction is something that those districts will have to engage with the government on. Because frankly, we know that the districts don't have the money to do that work. We know that they don't have a rating base that can even spread that work over a period of time. So there has to be a conduit for the councils which will each make the decisions to come through to government. And across the district there needs to be some equity, and there has to be some understanding that if we don't repair one part of the district, the whole district is going to suffer. So I think we need to see the Commission as a very flat structure, not some new bureaucracy that's coming in to tell them how to do things. And I think if we were to also look at the issue of the way in which orders in council might be constructed, firstly, it will be something that districts identify as being a problem. And districts will then report that through the Commission. The Commission will engage with the Minister, but we know all of this is going to be shortcut. We know that ministers will talk direct to the district, but the Commission will keep an overview of all of this stuff. And so if there is a need to do something, the Commission will then request the Minister to make that decision. The Minister will need to go to a Cabinet Committee. We've already said that we will make it clear to other parties in this House if there is to be a order in council. So people are going to know about it. And that goes also to Dr Graham's amendment, suggested amendment about the 24-hour notice of any order in council. Well, actually, at the moment, PCO are required to publish in the Gazette any order in council. The fact is that if you're changing a law, you want to use it. And you can't use it if you don't tell people. So there's no question that we're trying to hide from it, Mr Chair.
Call the Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
What there is a commitment to let people know before it happens, and then, of course, it would naturally be publicised. So any suggestion that we need the amendment, Dr Graham, in order to give the public certainty, would achieve nothing more than what already happens anyway. At the moment, I'm told PCO managed to get it out. They have probably a little longer process. They say, I think it's 72 hours. But under this circumstance, sir, as a member of this House, that SOE will be known to you as a member before it is even taken through its process. So I don't think there's any need to make that change. Can I come to a couple of points Brendan Byrne made in a minute, and run through the rest of Dr Graham's proposed amendments. So I've dealt with the issue around the High Court, and I don't think that the first glance that you might get saying, look, this is terrible, denying rights, is as relevant here as it might be in other circumstances. The second one was to restrict the ordering council process to just 21 of the bills that are listed there. Well, look, that's an idea, but why would you do that if all the intention here is to enable things that relate to the purpose of this bill? And in the purpose, the purpose states in 10 lines, it states the words Canterbury earthquake recovery 5 times. So it's very, very specific about what can be done. There's no way that you could do something through this bill that affects other parts of New Zealand. And I'll just make one proviso, because Dr Graham has also suggested that we might look at restricting it to the districts, Waimakariri, Selwyn and Christchurch. The difficulty there is that the Cape Valley landfill is outside that district. The Cape Valley landfill, no matter which way you look at it, is going to be under significant stress as a result of this particular disaster. The road slip that occurred blocking the Northern Highway along the Kaikoura coast, a result of this activity. And I don't think we should constrain ourselves where it's quite clear that there's something that relates to the activities of the last 10 days. And I think it's also worth, in that regard, noting that we are still in a period of having a considerable number of aftershocks from this event. So we don't quite know where it ends. What we do know is that we're getting on with making sure things come back together as quickly as possible. In that regard, Dr Graham has suggested that we should come back to the 15th of March 2011. And I think it's fair enough that this is put in front of us, because we've got to be able to be comfortable about however long this legislation runs for. The government is saying, give it 18 months. We all know what it's like. We're going to have councils that are at the moment in a state of, I think, I've got to be careful how I express this. I think they've done a huge amount of work over a short period of time. Someone told me the other day that in Christchurch City Care connected as many water connections in 3 days as they would normally do in a year. So that's because they're focusing on that. They do a lot of other things during that year. But the output from those organisations has been extraordinary. We need to give them time to think about what is going to be business as usual, what do we need to go back and repair in the infrastructure, because it's only patched up at the moment. And anyone who's seen any roadworks done these days, particularly if you look, will know it takes a time, and if you look particularly at Kaiapoi, they've got very deep sewers. Their sewers are at least 3 metres below the road. They know their sewers are by and large, under normal circumstances, below the waterline. They know they have to dig down, they have to sheet pile, they have to dewater, and they have to go block by block by block getting that done. And as they go along, they could well discover other problems that they hadn't anticipated. And I think indicating to residents throughout the wider Canterbury that infrastructurally it could be 18 months before there's a certain, we're so far down the track that we could say, right, we don't need these extra provisions. And I think during that time also if there needs to be stronger